Looks fun, doesn't it? Hey, thanks for joining me today. My name is Eric with a K. I'm the host of the Practical Youth Ministry Tips podcast, and I'm here to equip, empower, and encourage you with great youth ministry tips that you can use today in your ministry. This game is so simple, and the only prep you need is to have a coin. Coin. Or anything you could flip. It could be a piece of paper if you wanted to. So let me explain to you how the game works. It's a classic game that for our group has always been a hit. And maybe you haven't played it before, maybe you haven't heard of it. The coin flip game is easy. So let me give you the basic instructions. You line your students up in single file order sitting on the ground. And they face away from the person who's going to flip the coin. If you got a smaller group, you can have them do straight line right next to each other. If you've got a big group and you've got a good sized room, you could have them making kind of spirals out from the center of the room and the coin flipper's in the middle. And basically what happens when they flip it, when they get heads, the person that is sitting first in the row is the only person that is facing the coin flipper. Everybody else is facing away and should have their eyes closed. When it's heads, the first person in the row sees that it's heads, they tap the shoulder of the person in front of them or tap their back or whatever. Then that person taps the back of the person in front of them and so on and so forth until you get all the way to the end and the last person has to stand up. First person out of all the teams who stands up wins that round, gets points for their team. You can play as many rounds of this as you want. You can do first team to 5. I always like to give extra points, so I like to give 1,000 points instead of 1 point because points are for free. So it makes it seem like a bigger deal. All right, you got 1,000 points, and I tend to make the last round of any game I do worth extra points. This one's a little different because of the way the game is structured, but you could still do that. Make that, hey, this round is worth 2,000 points or 3,000 points. Sometimes it helps to even it out. Sometimes it makes that gap a lot bigger. But that's the essential version of the game. Now I want to give you a couple tips. You want to make sure that you have your volunteers spaced around the room, usually by the person, the students that are at the end that are going to be doing a standing, so that you can watch. I would also have the coin flipper, when they get heads, give a thumbs up so that the volunteers at the end know that it's actually coming. Because here's the deal. Here's what always happens. There are students that get so anxious that they just tap before anything ever happened. And all of a sudden a student stands up and you're like, we never even flipped the coin or it never hit heads or whatever. Okay, relax. So you might add in, this is like extra bonus tip here. You might add in a rule that says, if your team stands up and the coin was never flipped to heads, you lose 500 points. So it detracts from that 1,000 points that they had. That will help mitigate that whole we're just going to do it because if we tap early, maybe we'll get the points and nobody will notice. I don't know what the thought process is there. I think that may be part of it. But there's always students who are going to, just going to mess it up. It's always going to be someone. So you want to make sure that they have their eyes closed, maybe their heads down. A couple other bonus tips that I would say to help keep that from happening. Have them either raise their hands.
Raise your hand.
And they're sitting like this, or put their hands in their lap, so that they're not putting their hands on his shoulders. Like sometimes I've played that where they have their hands on their shoulders and they got to squeeze when it happens. I would have maybe raise their hands or put their hands in their lap. That way there has to be a full motion, and you don't move until you feel your back tapped. I would recommend doing it quietly so that others, if you hear a slap, then you're like, oh, I heard a slap. I don't know if it's from my team or not, but I'm going. And there's always somebody who's just going to go based on sound or whatever instead of waiting until their back is tapped. So super fun, super easy. A couple of other ways you could do it. You could, instead of just standing up, there could be an object, a funny object like a rubber chicken or something like that sits on a chair or a table.
Rubber chicken.
That they have to stand up and grab.
Let's go to commercial.
If you want to be able to run great games like this game, I have a free resource I want to give to you. It's a games ebook and companion audiobook, totally for free, that I've written. And it talks about why we do games in youth ministry, a bunch of low prep and no prep games like this here, and then 15 best practices that I would encourage you to print out or email to anyone that's going to run games for you so they know how to be really great at leading games. All right, let's get back to it.
And we're back.
I think I've never done this way, but I think this would actually help they both stood up at the same time. I can't figure out who won. When they stand up, the person who stands up has to run to the coin flipper and high five them. First person to high five them gets the 1,000 points for that round. So that's the game. Now let's watch it in several clips of its entirety. Let's take a look at it.
Oh shit! Eyes closed.
What's the score?
Just look forward.
Yo, that is distracting. Yeah! No.
Eyes closed. Eyes closed.
I didn't tap it.
Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
That's a competition.
Super fun game, right? There you see it. That's exactly how it happens. If this was encouraging, if this is helpful, and you're like, I would like to share this with somebody else, would you click the share button and send it on to somebody else so that they could get this great idea to use in their ministry as well? I would love that and appreciate it. If you've got some comments you want to let me know about something that maybe you've done this game, or a twist to this game that you've done, I'd love to hear that as well in the comments. Thanks so much for always checking in. We appreciate it, and have a great week. See ya.